In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Beneficent. Now with today's main headlines. The office of Grand Ayatollah Shirazi announces Friday as 1st of Jamad al-Thani 1445 AH. Grand Ayatollah Shirazi remarks on some rulings related to divorce. UN bodies call for global action on women's rights in Afghanistan. Pakistan rejects Indian Supreme Court's verdict on disputed Jammu and Kashmir. Assalamu alaikum dear viewers, this is Amir Maash and you are watching Shia Waves live from London only on Imam Hussein TV 3. The office of the Supreme Religious Authority, His Eminence Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq al-Hussaini Shirazi, may Allah prolong his life, has announced tomorrow, Friday, December 15th, as the first day of Jamad al-Thani 1445 AH. In a brief statement received by Shia Waves agency, the Grand Ayatollah's office said that Friday, corresponding to the 15th of December 2023, is the first of the month of Jamad al-Thani for the year 1445 AH. The daily scholarly meeting of Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq al-Hussaini Shirazi was held on Wednesday, the 28th of Jamad al-Awwal. Grand Ayatollah Shirazi discussed some rulings of divorce according to the Sunni method and the Shia method. A joint report by UN Women, the International Organization for Migration, and the United Nations Assistance Mission in Afghanistan has revealed significant challenges faced by Afghan women, urging global attention and action. The report, Situation of Women in Afghanistan, emphasized the importance of education and employment in addressing a range of issues including mental health crisis, poverty, early marriages, child labor, domestic violence, and illegal migration. 48% of women felt that restrictions have become more stringent, while 32% sensed a potential easing. However, an alarming continuation of poor mental health among women was noted, with 76% rating their mental health as very bad or bad. To discuss this further, we have with us Shabir Bahir, international relations expert from Utah. Assalamu alaikum. What restrictions have been imposed on Afghan women during the rule of the Taliban, and how do these constraints affect their lives?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you to bringing up this subject. Unfortunately, under the regime of the Taliban, the woman in general suffering a toughest situation in the history of Afghanistan. Women are banned going to school. We receive many cases of forced marriage by the Taliban. We have received many abduction, assassination for those women who raise their voice, and also with the toughest economic situation, it's the women and the mother and the sister who's suffering the most. So in general, I can say that the women in Afghanistan are banned from any social, cultural, political, and activity. Also, there is many limitation. The regime of the Taliban put many limitation for the media, even for the YouTube, for the social media, for the women. They've been arrested. We received many arrests of those who's campaigning for and raising their voice for the situation that are in Afghanistan.
And how do these limitations vary from the teachings of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them?
Unfortunately, the way of our Prophet and 12th Imam, this is the glory way. Unfortunately, the Taliban put a lot of pressure, put a lot of limitation for women in general, and also for the Shia Muslim, and for the all women who follow the Fatima, peace be upon him. There is no way, and even though they can go to school after grade 6, and they have no access to right education or the right way to get more education or get more knowledge about the Prophet Muhammad and our Ahl Bayt.
And lastly, how does Islam of Ahlul Bayt view women and their pivotal role in the Muslim society?
Women in Islam has a clear path. Most of the country, most of the even religion in the world are benefiting from the way of our Fatima Zahra's way. But also, I can explain that this is the brutal regime of the Taliban create many limitation, many boundary for the any type of education, including the woman goes to school, even to madrasa. Um, uh, they are not able to. The whole general limitation for the women is to restrict them to gain any knowledge about even in religious or modern education.
Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you.
Let's take a look back at today's main headlines. Office of Grand Ayatollah Shirazi announces Friday as the first of Jamad Thani 1445 AH. Grand Ayatollah Shirazi remarks on some rulings related to divorce. UN bodies call for global action on women's rights in Afghanistan. Also tonight, UN report on ISIS crimes against women in Iraq is incomplete, observers say. Pakistan has firmly rejected the Indian Supreme Court's decision to uphold Article 370, granting special status to Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan's interim foreign minister, Jalil Abbas Jilani, declared the Supreme Court ruling invalid on Monday, stating that India lacked the authority to unilaterally alter the status of occupied Kashmir. Addressing a news conference in Islamabad on Monday, he said Pakistan does not acknowledge the supremacy of the Indian constitution over Jammu and Kashmir. Any process subservient to the Indian constitution carries no legal significance. Now let's continue with some short news. The United Nations Climate Change Conference concluded its work on Wednesday after representatives of nearly 200 countries, in addition to the European Union, approved the UAE Climate Agreement, which features an ambitious climate action plan to limit long-term global temperature rises to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The agreement called on the parties to achieve an orderly, responsible, fair and logical transition to an energy system free of all sources of traditional fuel, the emissions of which are not mitigated, with the aim to achieve climate neutrality and encourage them to provide nationally determined contributions that cover all economic sectors. A survey of British Muslims found that 58% expect to cut back on the money they donate to charity in the next 12 months. The respondents were more likely to make cuts to large purchases and eating out than their charitable spending. The survey sample shows that British Muslims are twice as likely than the general public to say they will give more to charity in the year ahead. According to the survey, British Muslims donate over £1 billion a year and represent 6.5% of the population. A top PKK member leading the group's youth branch was killed in a drone strike by Turkey's National Intelligence Organization. According to Turkish intelligence authorities, the target was preparing an arson attack in Turkey's metropolitan. Produced in eco-friendly ways, green hydrogen offers a clean alternative to fossil fuels as the energy transition gathers steam. A group of experts say in recent years, investments in green hydrogen production have been growing in many countries seeking cleaner and more sustainable energy solutions, they add. China doubled down on its claim over parts of Ladakh and the disputed Jammu and Kashmir region, proclaiming it has never recognized the so-called Union Territory of Ladakh, set up unilaterally and illegally by India. Responding to the verdict, China's foreign ministry said, India's domestic judicial verdict does not change the fact that the western section of the China-Indian border has always belonged to China. Observers stated to the digital content of the Iraqi Center for Documentation of Extremist Crimes that the report issued by the United Nations investigation team, UNITAD, is incomplete as it overlooked the documented crimes committed against Shia Turkmen women in Tal Afar and was skeptical towards the violations they were subjected to by ISIS extremists, with many of them still have an unknown fate. They issued a report on the physical violations, rape, mistreatment and torture suffered by women and girls, including armed men from ISIS subjecting girls under the age of 9 to forced marriage, as well as rape and abuse. The report also showed patterns of violence committed by ISIS militants against Shia Turkmen, Christians and Yazidi women who during their control over Mosul, Nineveh and Sinjar. However, the report overlooked a number of facts about the kidnapped Turkmen women, and the team did not travel to Tal Afar to listen to survivors and witnesses to learn the facts decisively. At least 176 people, including 75 women, have died from drought-induced hunger in Ethiopia's northern state of Tigray. Regional Administrator Hadush Asamalesh stated that the deaths, which include 101 men and 75 women, were caused by the ongoing humanitarian crisis after the prolonged drought in Tigray. This is the second major announcement by the local administration, as a state of emergency was declared last week after more than 200 deaths caused by drought-related hunger in the area in recent weeks. The Second Circuit for Terrorism at the Egyptian Supreme State Security Court announced today the retrial of 2 defendants in the murder of the Shia preacher Sheikh Hassan Shatta, may God have mercy upon him, which took place in 2013 and is known in the media as the Shia sedition. Abdul Wahab Ashur and Hassan Muhammad Qandul are accused of killing Sheikh Shatta along with 3 of his sons and followers. The Egyptian prosecution says that the defendants surrounded the victim with sharp weapons and Molotov cocktails and then attacked them with beatings and stabbings. Sheikh Hassan Shatta was a prominent Shia leader in Egypt. We have reached the end of today's news. Let's remind our viewers of the main headlines. Office of Grand Ayatollah Shirazi announces Friday as 1st of Jamad al-Thani 1445 AH. Grand Ayatollah Shirazi remarks on some rulings related to divorce. UN bodies call for global action on women's rights in Afghanistan. Pakistan rejects Indian Supreme Court's verdict on disputed Jammu and Kashmir. UN report on ISIS crimes against women in Iraq is incomplete, observers say. Dozens die as drought ravages Ethiopia's Tigray region. Egyptian court retries defendants in murder of Shia preacher Sheikh Hassan Shatta. You can view the latest news on our website, or you can send news of your city or country to be published on our news agency. Contact us on the numbers at the bottom of your screens. Thank you all for watching. We pray to Allah the Almighty to hasten the reappearance of the Master of our time. Wassalamu alaikum.
My name is Sarah, and I live in the UK with my dad. I don't need to worry about the cold outside.